But yeah, on to a cheerier topic, all in the same lines. Do you guys see the tweet that Leeds made about their match against the Merseyside Reds? When talking about Liverpool.
No.
Oh, it's brilliant. It was so this is the Leeds official account. If you guys know the backstory, Merseyside Reds used to be the filler name back when
Oh.
Konami made Pez in like I don't know however many decades ago it was now. They didn't own the rights to use Liverpool, so they called them the Merseyside
Oh
Reds.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
Leeds tweeted, what was it? It was hashtag LUFC, Leeds United FC, holds Super League club Merseyside Reds to a 1-1 draw. Very funny stuff. Got all kinds of retweets. I think it's something like 160,000 likes, which for them is a pretty good figure.
I know Wolves, they do a lot of stuff on TikTok, they're pretty funny
Yeah,
on there.
yeah,
And yeah, they were definitely trolling a lot of the
yeah.
super clubs.
I actually really like a lot of the smaller clubs have pretty good social media game.
Yeah.
There's a couple that come to mind. Swindon Town is fantastic. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, they're like I think they got relegated from League One this year. They're not all the way down to League Two, which is the fourth division, I believe. But yeah, good stuff certainly. Um, when we think about going back to sort of some of the problems with Super League, one phrase that I saw thrown around a lot was the phrase "Why the European Super League is a cancer to football" is the headline I saw. Do you agree? Like, do you think because at the same time, right, promoting a greater amount of competition among sort of the different domestic leagues has been talked about for a long time. You look at even now, UEFA is sort of like expressing plans to elevate how much competition there is, expanding Champions League, restructuring Europa League to bring in new faces and new clubs, and not withholding the horrible execution. What are your guys' thoughts on on just like the Super League concept, right? Maybe not Super League specifically, but the concept of expanding European play to more clubs.
It's not a bad concept. I think what UEFA is doing in this trend that also FIFA is going to be doing in 2026 in the World Cup, which is like being
Right.
able to change the format to bring more teams in, and like you said, more new faces. I think it's still like UEFA and FIFA. They aren't as clean as we think they are. They're just
Oh,
way
they're
better than
not.
whatever the Super League is.
Yeah.
They're still trying to they're still trying to make money. So they're still trying to make more money by bringing in more games. And when they have more games, more teams, it's more viewers. So they're not as clean, but it's not a bad format. And I think it's like I don't have a problem with this new format the UEFA is going to be doing for the Champions League.
Mhm.
I just wish I don't know. We'll see what happens with it.
Right.
But I think they had to do it so that they're like, hey, look, we basically have the same Super League format. There's no reason for Super League.
Right.
I don't
Right.
think Super League would be suspended if it wasn't for UEFA and FIFA standing, with the fans and the clubs. However, they were doing it for both greedy purposes as well. So I think I think this whole thing was just it's an important part of football history, and it should bring more eyes to this issue of like who owns football and how is it
Yeah.
going to be orchestrated in the future.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually go ahead, Suraj.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that also brings up another question that's like similar. Like how far do you go in like letting more teams in, right? Because these teams do like work to sort of qualify for these tournaments. And I feel like some of the teams that qualify would also have something to say about letting too many teams in, right? There's definitely got to be a
Hmm.
boundary. You already have four teams from Premier League going into UEFA. Um, and so like just how do you keep it so that the competition level is still like very high and very like has a floor, but at the same time like continues to invest more interest in the competition.
That's a good question. This connects actually to another question I was going to ask, which I'll touch on in a few seconds. But I think a lot of people who sort of have those views are not the people who are watching the most games. Um, let's take for instance the Premier League, right? This maybe not at the very top, right, where you look at who's racing for first or second, right? But in the rest of the league this season, especially, we've got a very tight race all the way down through, say 7th, 8th place, right? It's within a couple games all the way down, all down the table right now, until you get to the mid-table. And I think that's true of a lot of leagues this season, especially as well. La Liga's very tight, right? Sure, first place in Serie A is a bit far too, but that's very tight as well. We've got 3 teams all in 30 points, as of earlier today when I checked. I think the quality is very high across the board, even when you don't look at the big classic money making clubs. This is where I was going. One of the big arguments for Super League, is for European Super League, was who wants to watch like West Ham versus Atalanta in the Champions League when you could be watching Manchester United versus PSG. And the thing is, at least at some times, that Manchester United club isn't necessarily going to be playing the best football, right? And I think that having, at the end of the day, what most football fans want to watch is the best football. And at the same time, right, everyone loves an underdog story. Look at Leicester winning the Premier League in 2016. There wasn't a single real football fan who didn't love that season from Leicester, right? Who didn't love watching, them compete. And I think that if you have something like Super League where it's always the same 6 teams from the Premier League, always the same 2 teams from La Liga, all the same 3 teams from Italy, from Serie A, it's going to get stale. You want underdog stories. I'm a huge fan of underdogs. If I'm not watching Arsenal, if I'm watching 2 teams that I don't really take a side in, I'm always picking the underdog. That's just that's exciting, right? It gives you something to root for, and I think that Champions League, oftentimes you get really deep underdog runs, which everyone loves to watch. I think Ajax a couple seasons ago, right, ending up in the semifinals, that brilliant 90th minute free kick, brilliant stuff. One of the best games in recent memory that I could think of. And I think it was something like your European Super League. You stand a chance to lose that.
You definitely do, and I think with all the support that you had from the fans, I think you said something about how no fan didn't love that season for Leicester. And that's the same. I don't think there's any true football fan that wanted the European Super League to happen, and
Totally agree.
it goes to show a lot. There was definitely a lot of support, and I think that's how this thing was suspended in 48 hours. And, even there was governments, even Boris Johnson spoke out, he wanted to add some legislation to stop the Super League. He even wanted to start implementing the German
50+1, yeah,
a 50+1 ownership model, which I think is brilliant because that's definitely necessary. And I think the Germans have something really good going on there.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, because since the fans, it goes to show how the fans, they didn't want it, so that's why there was no Bayern, no Dortmund in the European Super League.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel, the M2M Network, for more sports and entertainment content.